Although this looks like one of those super inspiring videos where I'll motivate you to quit your job and follow your dreams, it's not. As someone who grew up loving animals, I now see the importance of protecting the natural environment. However, the emotional ties of a loving family, great friends and a pocket-sprung mattress has meant I've never quite managed to break free from society to become a true eco-warrior. Because to be out there in the field working for conservation, you have to give up everything. Or at least, that's what I've been told repeatedly on my Facebook feed. That all changed when I met a team of everyday 9-to-5ers who, instead of going on holiday each year, they join a scientific research expedition instead. This time they're in the depths of the Dubai desert, walking among pristine dunes and where it feels like humans have never set foot before. However, in the 1960s and 70s, masses of people would drive into the desert every day to go hunting. And by 1972, the Arabian Oryx had been completely wiped out. For decades after, the desert was completely void of any discernible life. It laid empty until 1999 when Sheikh Mohammed founded the Dubai Desert Conservation Reserve, with the aim of returning the lifeless sandpit back to its former thriving self. A handful of oryx and other species were taken from private collections around the world and released into the reserve, supported by the planting of native trees and shrubs. A decade later, reintroductions of the Oryx are going well, and additional support was provided by Biosphere Expeditions and its team of intrepid volunteers who came in to help. These volunteers are just everyday people like you and me, who have ditched their package holiday in exchange for a conservation-filled adventure. Biosphere Expeditions take that dream of working amongst amazing landscapes and turn it into a reality. And the work they do out here is absolutely vital for the native wildlife. Although the desert certainly comes with a healthy dose of reality, this expedition is definitely not a holiday. And this really isn't the Dubai you've seen on Instagram. This is a real scientific expedition, and during their time among the dunes, the volunteers are the scientists, driving themselves into the deepest depths of the desert in search of vital data. And later, when the sun goes down, it's time to retreat back to the campsite, which is the perfect location for a bit of stargazing. Although you don't have long. The days start early. So early you can't even tell the time by the position of the sun, because it's not up yet. But as soon as the sun does peek over the mountains, it's time to start work, which consists of counting oryx, gazelle, sand gazelle, and surveying the very elusive fox dens, as well as making a note of anything else they see along the way. This information is then relayed back to the scientists at the DDCR and will greatly affect how the reserve is maintained and developed in the future. As easy as counting animals seems, often the jeep couldn't handle the terrain, and so trekking on foot was the only option. Frequently, for many kilometers at a time, the only footsteps these over-enthusiastic environmentalists saw were their own. The work is exhausting, yet being able to freely roam this stunning ancient landscape meant you didn't tire of it for a second. Despite only filming most of the time and not really helping in any quantifiable way, I really felt like what we were doing here was truly making a difference. Without these dedicated and diligent helpers, this backbreaking work simply wouldn't be done, and the future of the Oryx and the desert would be much less certain. Since 2012, the DDCR and various teams of volunteers from Biosphere Expeditions have turned the fate of the desert around, with the Oryx going from extinction to now a thriving population of 500 and counting. Literally, there's probably still people counting out there as I speak. And it's not just in Dubai. Biosphere volunteers are working all over the world to help conserve wolves, snow leopards, whales, and so much more. No longer do you have to quit your job to live that life you've always fantasized about. Instead, you can have both. You can travel to distant lands to conserve wildlife and become a part of the movement that will save this planet, whilst also being back in your comfortable bed before anyone really notices you've been gone.